Good morning. I want to welcome you all here today. For those of you who might be new, my name is Kim Rudot. I'm the Regional Communications Manager for the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. We're here to talk about the Leo Frigo Bridge shutdown. We're also going to talk to you a little bit today about Packer traffic as a result of that shutdown. But first of all, to get things started, it's my pleasure. I'd like to introduce to you Will Dorsey. Will is the Region Director for the Northeast region here in Green Bay for the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. Will?
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today for the news conference. At last week's news conference, Governor Walker and Transportation Secretary Gottlieb emphasized the importance of the Leo Frigo Bridge on the local, regional, and state economy. They stressed that we will move forward as quickly as possible to restore this vital transportation link, and we will do so. While the investigation is ongoing, we have significant preliminary findings that we will be sharing with you today. Prior to getting into the details of the investigation, I'd like to follow up on a couple general issues, some of which were discussed last week or during the week. First of all, I'd like to confirm that since the initial settling of Pier 22 early in the morning of September 25th, we've experienced no additional movement of the bridge. If there's a positive element in all of this related to this incident, it's that no one was injured or killed as a result of the settlement. It is our intent to keep that going. Safety is our highest priority on this project, both in the investigation phase and ultimately on the restoration of this bridge. Federal Highway has informed us that their participation and support in this effort is unaffected by the federal shutdown. Just a brief update on the status of the emergency relief funding that was discussed at a previous conference. Last Friday, September 27th, Governor Walker issued a state of emergency proclamation based on the failure of the Leo Frigo Bridge. That is the first and critical first step in requesting emergency relief funds. Subsequent to that, on the same day, Transportation Secretary Gottlieb sent a letter to FHWA Division Administrator George Poirier, providing notification of our intent to request emergency relief funds. Federal Highway Administration will ultimately make the decision on eligibility of the Leo Frigo Bridge for those emergency relief funds. And if the bridge is deemed eligible for those funds, it would consist of 100% funding for the first 180 days, and that would be retroactive back to Wednesday, September 25th. Rather than me trying to paraphrase all the elements or the details of the emergency relief program, we do have a handout that we will provide to all of the media following today's event that details that information. It's about a 3-page document Federal Highway provided to us, so it'll have all the details that you may be looking for. Finally, before I conclude, I'd just like to say on behalf of the Department of Transportation that we'd like to thank everyone that's involved in this effort to date and going forward, including our partners at Federal Highway Administration, county staffs, city personnel, consultants, and contractors. The investigation and subsequent repair of the bridge is a massive effort, but we have the right team assembled and we will get the job done. So thank you. At this point, I'll turn it back over to Kim.
Thanks, Will. Again, as I mentioned, we'll have that handout for you on those emergency relief funds after the news conference. We're all trying hard to adjust to life without the Leo Frigo Bridge right now, and actually a little bit of a sense of normalcy is coming back to Green Bay this weekend. We finally got the Packers back and playing at home. And to talk to you a little bit about that, we have our traffic engineer, Randy Asman.
Good morning, everyone. Our message regarding the upcoming Packer game this Sunday is very simple. Leave early. Leave earlier than you typically have left before. Earlier this week, Wisconsin DOT met with the Green Bay Packers, the Brown County Sheriff's Department, Wisconsin State Patrol, and other law enforcement agencies here within the Green Bay area to discuss the impacts of the Leo Frigo Bridge not being in operation. As part of that meeting, we laid out in front of them some of the different things that we're going to do or some of the things that we've already done as a result of the closure last week. And it was encouraging to hear that we're all on the same page. We all have the same mission. We want everyone to get to the game safely. We want them to get there on time. But in order for that to happen, we're going to need people to understand some of the impacts as a result. So message again, very simple, leave early. If you typically left at 8 o'clock, you need to leave early. How much time, that's up to you to determine how much extra time you think you're going to need. It's not going to be news, but you know, we're going to expect delays primarily on Highway 41 northbound, coming up towards Highway 172 in Lombardy, as well as 172 westbound. We fully recognize that this is a gold package game, so we have more people coming to the game from the south than on a conventional non-gold package game. So we expect these routes to be heavier than normal. And what goes into that, obviously, is with the bridge being down, that means we have more people wanting to use that river crossing. On a typical home game, the Leo Frigo Bridge carries 31,500 cars a day on a typical home Sunday game. On a non-Sunday football game, the bridge carries 28,000. So a difference of 3,500 cars are on that bridge as a result of having a home Packer game. The bridge, again, just to summarize, 31,500 cars want to be there this coming Sunday. So those vehicles are going to go somewhere else. That's where the delays come in. Those cars, those people are either going to hopefully not make some of those trips, or the trips they're going to make are going to be to some of these other river crossings in Green Bay or Highway 172, and that's where we expect those delays to occur. 172 bridge here carries about 69,500 cars on a Packer home game as compared to 65,000. So again, a difference of about 5,000 extra vehicles on the bridge for a home Packer game. In combination now with those 30-some thousand that want to come from Leo Frigo, there's the issue. The bottleneck typically occurs at the interchange of 41 and 172, and we expect that to be the case on Sunday. Now, some of the ways that we can help mitigate that is, you know, we have plenty of alternate routes within the Green Bay area, and people have learned where they are if they didn't within the last week or so. You know, 3 river crossings in downtown Green Bay, Maine, Walnut, and Mason. Some other places where people could come to the game would be 43 northbound to Mason Street and then work their way through the city. 172 westbound to Ashland could be an option. 41 northbound to Ashland or Oneida. And then also southbound, or those that are coming in from 29 from the west, could use Mason Street. So even though that you want to get to the game, it might be quicker and easier if you get off the freeway earlier than you have in the past and use some of these other alternative interchanges. To help with that, I think we've mentioned before, we're using 8 freeway message boards in the Green Bay area as well as down in the Fox Valley. Those message boards, the messages have been altered to reflect what I just explained to you in the alternate routes we want people to take instead. We'll be using our freeway cameras at the STOC in Milwaukee. They'll be looking at their cameras as well as stadium control at the stadium itself. In addition, we will also have State Patrol, who will have 7 additional officers on the road on Sunday, just patrolling and keeping an eye on things and making sure the roadway gets clear if an incident occurs, as well as an aerial aircraft, a plane. They'll have a plane up Sunday morning as well, keeping an eye from up above and being able to relay that information to their officers and stadium control down on the ground. In addition, we had an earlier press release this week talking about the freeway service team. One of those freeway service team trucks will be patrolling Highway 41, and then the other one primarily Highway 172. And again, those patrols have proven very, very beneficial. They generally run from 8 a.m., or they will be running this coming Sunday from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. to make sure we encounter and incorporate all of the game day traffic that's going to occur on Sunday. So that's in a nutshell all the things that we're doing. You know, again, our message is very clear. We want to get out to the public. You know, use alternate routes. Carpool if you can carpool with somebody to decrease the amount of trips that are taking place on the highway. And you know, first and foremost, leave early. Now, as a result of last week's bridge closure, you know, we've begun to assess how it impacts the Highway 41 project as well, and how can we work together with that project to make sure we keep traffic moving, not only on game day, but every other day of the week. And one of the things that we're doing is the 41 northbound auxiliary lane that exists today between Highway 172 and Lombardi Avenue is going to remain open. That was scheduled to be closed here soon. That now is going to remain open so we can continue to have traffic move through that section of highway as best as we can. The other things that we're doing is we're monitoring the overnight closures. We have a lot of overnight closures, both of just mainline lanes as well as some of our ramps are being closed. We're adjusting those times to make sure that we incorporate this extra traffic that's now going through some of these highways that weren't before. So we're going to continue to monitor that traffic both daily, over the weekend, work with our law enforcement partners to make sure that we continue to improve upon the traffic situation that's occurring after last week. Back to Kim.
As I said, Randy will be available to talk to you later today. I do want to add, there is one thing that would really help on Sunday to help this entire situation, and that is a Packer victory, because then we'll have a lot of happy drivers after the game. Now, we want to talk to you about what we've been doing out there in terms of analysis and investigation. We're going to talk to you about what we found, and we're going to talk to you about what's up ahead for the Leo Frigo Bridge. And with that, we introduced him last week at our second news conference. This is our third, and it's Tom Buchholz. Tom is a project manager, kind of ramrodding this entire effort. Tom?
Good morning. I want to reiterate Will's comments earlier about this investigation phase and the priority of safety. We've had numerous crews out there since last Saturday, and we have daily safety talks at 7 a.m. A lot of people walking around doing different things. We have 7 a.m. safety talks that talk about what everybody's doing so everybody's aware of what's happening as we go through that investigation phase. I want to reiterate, we continue to monitor with survey equipment, movement of the bridge. That's an ongoing process. As an earlier press release went out, we have monitors up on the piers, continuing to see if there is any movement, that there is a warning device for workers in the area. That continues to be a priority. This investigation phase, screening phase, to find out why Pier 22 started last Thursday. And we really looked at the Leo Frigo Bridge, started with the bridge plans back in the 70s. Picture behind me is kind of an aerial view, and we really concentrated on the area from Quincy Street to the Fox River. And it started with the soil borings from the original bridge project. That gave us information of soil sampling done in the 70s. And then we also looked a little further back in time. There's aerial mapping of that area back in time. And this area from Quincy Street to the Fox River, we found out was a fill area. It was kind of a low wetland area that got filled in over time. And the borings that we had from original bridge showed that there was multiple different materials that were in this area. Then we moved into Saturday and started with Brown County Forces doing some test pits, soil borings, soil samples, water samples, monitoring wells, really getting into looking at confirming what the soils were, or what's shown on those soil borings back in the 70s, investigating that. As part of that, we took soil samples as we went along, water samples, and I'll talk a little bit more what we did at each of those test pits. Also during that time, we had our DOT crews doing bridge inspection out on the piers and on the deck, and the bridge inspections appear everything, the deck and the superstructure and the piers are in good shape, which is a really good sign considering Pier 22 dropped about 2 feet. Through the test pits, we excavated on piers 10 through 25. So that's 16 piers we performed test pits on. And we were really trying to uncover 2 feet of piling. Can't show on this one. On this drawing, really we were trying to excavate in a corner to uncover the piling and see what the condition of the piling was. Over here, during our excavation, this is actually a cutoff pile. So this is what the piling actually is. This is just an example. So really trying to uncover that piling and see what the condition of it was. On Tuesday, October 1st, we went to Pier 22, and we actually went a little bit deeper than just the bottom of the footing. We actually went 15 feet below ground, which is about 8 feet below the bottom of the concrete footing. And what we found there was the piling did buckle on Pier 22, so we found out the reason why it happened. Picture here kind of described, this is a piling, so you got to imagine this H piles are pounded down to bearing, and this is the top portion of it, and here's the bottom portion of it. So here's probably kind of the key thing. You can see the kind of the buckling. So it came down, sort of an S candy shape and down. And this was in the northwest corner of the north stem of the Pier 22. Then we went and actually dug it in the southwest corner of the south shaft on Pier 22, and were able to excavate down and actually uncovered 2 piles in that corner, and those were buckled as well. So really what it showed us and what it's told us that all the pier has just, the foundations have buckled on Pier 22. And if you look from the picture, there's pier, the other one, there's severe corrosion on that piling. So our preliminary factors to the corrosion is really that fill material that's been in place prior to the construction, and a combination of water, groundwater interacting with that soil, corroding on the piles. We've reached out to corrosion experts across the nation to get further input on this. The other thing we can tell you in our test pits, adjacent piers, Pier 21, Pier 23, and Pier 25. So Pier 25, 23, 22 we talked about, Pier 21. So in this area, we did see corrosion on our test pits. Not to the severity, obviously, that caused failure, but you could see corrosion. And I want to reiterate, this does not indicate that the rest of the bridge is in danger of collapse. These foundations, these piles have huge safety factors on them, so if one pile fails, there's 39 other to support the bridge. So we're confident in that. But obviously, this isn't a one Pier 22 issue, it's multiple pier issues. We do intend to inventory piers on the west side of the river and other piers on the structure. Really, that's to do soil borings to confirm that what the soil borings were done in 1974 is what we're encountering today, that there wasn't land use changes under those piers that would cause concerns for corrosion further on the Leo Frigo Bridge. And I want to reiterate, the vast majority of test pits that we encountered, the numerous piers there, the piers actually looked like that as the day they went in 36 years ago, which is a good sign. So we found out why, or what happened, or we're trying to figure out why, and what the puzzle we're putting together now is with all the soil samples and water samples, we have to get our arms around that data to find out how many piers does this actually affect. Obviously, it's not one, but is it 3, is it 5? We don't know, and that's what we're getting our arms around. It's really focused on this fill material in this area. Also with that effort, as you imagine, we're already moving forward with coming up with solutions to how to fix and rehab the bridge so we can open the bridge as quickly as it can. That's just starting in the process at this point, and we'll probably get back to you in the future when we get further ahead with details of that and how quickly that's going to happen.
I want to reiterate that we're looking at today's news conference as a milestone. We believe we have enough information that as we finish our investigation, as we're in the process of finishing the investigation, we have already started the process to look at solutions. How are we going to fix this? Last night I was watching History Channel on TV, and I heard a comment that I wanted to use today, a quote that I thought applied to this pretty good. This isn't the beginning of the end at all. This is a long process, but I think we finally reached the end of the beginning. We're moving forward. We know what the issue is out there, and we're already starting to move forward with a fix. This is a critical news conference for this. This is a long process. We're going to continue to share information as we have it and updates. I don't see us having another news conference until we can come to you and tell you how we're going to fix this. In the meantime, we will provide information as it's available, but right now we're working on how are we going to fix this as we're finishing the data. When will we be finished with our data collection? I think we'll certainly be finished by the end of next week. So, We know there's a lot of interest in this. We put up a website about this last week, about this project. Already has 3,000 hits. We advise people to use the 511 system to keep getting information about how to get around how this, where the closures are, how this impacts their travel. Oh, and I just want to finish. Again, we're not planning another news conference, at least not right now, not until we know how it's going to be fixed. This afternoon for the tour, that's when we'll have our technical services chief, Bruce Sankey, and we'll also have our project manager, Tom Buchholz, available to talk to you at the conclusion of the media tour. That tour, by the way, is just for media and for legislators. It is not for the general public, and you need your safety gear. That's about it. Mark, am I missing anything?
Just questions.
Well, right. Okay, now let's open it up for questions.
Tim, you mentioned the corrosion issue. Now, with the federal funding not being eligible for problems that are age-related to the bridge, how does corrosion fit into that?
We're not sure. Federal Highways has told us that they're looking into it, and we're expecting a decision by them. We're, certainly, we're keeping a positive attitude about it. We anticipate that this will qualify, but we're not sure. We've done our work, and now it's up to them to let us know.
When do you expect to know?
We're trying to find that out. Certainly not by this weekend. We'd like to know this afternoon. I got a feeling we're not going to know until sometime next week.
Any idea how expensive the repair project's going to be? You might have to take down the entire pier, that entire pier, and replace the whole short span of bridge, or any idea the scope of this yet?
I appreciate that question. I don't want to speculate on as to what the fix is. I know that they're working up various scenarios. Tom brought up a very important point today. He said that the bridge, we don't believe it's in any danger of collapse. And the majority of piers out there are in good shape. This bridge was designed well, it was constructed well. Most bridges, the issue is with the deck, is with above ground. And you can see it, and sometimes it is a design fault. This is a geotechnical issue. It's called for investigation, and it's more challenging. But what we did want to tell you today is that there are at least 3 other piers where we're starting to see similar soil characteristics that are around Pier 22 and those pilings that are causing us to look at it a little more carefully.
Are all of the piers, maybe Mr. Buchholz could address this, are all of the
That's
piers?
Buchholz.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are all of the piers going to be inspected as intricately as Pier 22?
Go ahead, Tom.
Sure. What we're doing at all the piers is really, in this area where this fill area from Quincy to Fox River is really the main concern area. That's where we went and did that extensive test pit excavation, confirming the soil. The rest of the bridge piers are really doing soil borings, which is a lot less intrusive, and you still do soil sampling and looking and verifying that the soil borings that were done in the 70s are still there today. A lot less intrusive, a lot faster, a lot quicker. But we'll look at the
How many piers total are there?
51.
51. So are they all going to be looked at to some extent?
I don't know if all is a fair number. We're going to look at a sheer number of them and then make a judgment whether we need to look at all of them.
Why shouldn't they all be looked at?
Because if we spend time and money looking at something and it's verified by what we saw in 1974, why spend more time and money to reiterate or refine what we already know?
74 was a long time ago.
Some of the soil conditions under the bridge really haven't changed.
Okay.
You're talking a little bit about survey equipment that you have out there. Can you give some more details as to what exactly you're using, what kind of technology is out there to make sure, or to monitor the movement?
Simple terms, we just use a simple level, check heights against a benchmark, and monitor that. Then we're also in the process of putting a robotics type unit that's mounted to the pier that has different prisms, if you will. It'll do it automatically, that you don't need to do it manned. And then that can be done actually through a wireless card, go to a computer's laptop, and can be monitored 24/7. So we're in the process of installing that. just from a manpower resource issue, that you don't have to have somebody doing it every day, all day long, just checking and rechecking. Each checking can be done automatically.
Did you guys have any indication, when you came in with working theories, was this piling buckle one of them? Did you have some idea that this might be an issue coming forward?
Yeah, piling, this is my experience, piling foundations are very unique. We have a huge factor of safety on piling foundations, so piling failing isn't something you hear in bridges. It does happen more in river situations where you have scour caused by river conditions, but actual pile failing, you just don't hear a whole lot of. That was sort of the suspicion, but when it doesn't happen, why did it happen? Luckily, we were able to find out very near to the surface why it happened. Very early, we were concerned of this could be happening 90, 80 feet below ground, which gets more difficult to actually confirm that's what happened. So, you know, knowing that it's up in this fill area, combination of this corrosion with the soil, makes it a little easier understanding. And then also, the next question is other bridges, other things. Testing for corrosion isn't normally done on bridges, but part of it is now, in this day and age, if you had fill from industrial type waste, you'd be asking those questions ahead of time. It typically isn't done, but I'm sure it will be in the future.
And what was the fill? I mean, was it straight up, garden soil, or can
No, if you go look at the soil borings, which you can get a hand on, it's a combination. I think the soil borings from '74 mention foundry sand. There's organic material in there. We've encountered all kinds of different things. Who produced it, what produced it, I have no idea.
You mentioned that some of these piers were built in land that was once wetland, and groundwater also contributed to it. Does that mean that this is likely to happen again, or are there steps that you can take to prevent this from happening again?
Well, part of it is this fill area with this material, so then when you do future bridges, obviously when you cutter type of this fill material, you ask those corrosive questions, and is this a corrosive material that we need to do something different in the foundations? There's ways around that. If you have that type of material, you could excavate that material out. You could do different types of foundation that, built out of concrete that aren't susceptible to the corrosion.
I want to clarify something here. Tom, this fill is unique to this particular area of the bridge.
Correct.
What does the rest of the fill for the rest of the bridge?
The west side of the bridge was basically all marsh and remains much of a wetland marshland area. And then east of Quincy Street, again, that wasn't fill either. It was native ground in there, which native to this area, a lot of clays and silts.
This might be way out, but do PCBs come into a factor here? Do they add to the corrosion factor?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I haven't heard anything mentioned about PCBs.
We know there's no new movement so far, but what's the likelihood of it staying that way?
We continue to monitor. It's not moved since the occur of a Wednesday, and one of our bridge engineers made a good analogy. When this failed, all 40 of these piling failed, and it literally went down 2 feet. So the momentum and the weight of that pier coming down, there was enough force from the remaining pile to stop it. The weight of this pier actually stopping and staying on itself is a good thing. So it stayed and not moved in a week. If it was going to go, you'd think it would have went Wednesday.
At the time that this happened, you all were saying that it possibly could have happened within a span of minutes. Do you still believe that it was that quick of a...
That's speculation. I don't know.
The only thing we know is we look back through our records to see when it was first reported, when drivers first told us of a dip in the bridge. That meant that they had to sense that with their automobiles. Now, we think it went down sometime on that morning. To get to know exactly how quickly it went or when it went, it is speculation.
So are we looking at, we're just speculating, replacing the H-pile, the whole pier all the way up from the bottom of the bridge down to 100 feet in bedrock? You said it's a rare thing. Is there any precedent for how to fix this?
It is rare. I tried to explain that, and Tom did a better job. This is unusual, so we're just not sure. Those are all good questions. We're asking the same questions, and we're going to be talking about that. And when we figure it out, the first people are going to know are you. So.
When you realized it was just 8 feet or 10 feet underground where it buckled, was there a sense of relief that it wasn't farther down? Does this make it any easier?
Tom, I'll let you handle that.
Sure. As part of this investigation phase, finding it 8 feet down does make it simpler. As I mentioned earlier, there was discussion, did this happen 90, 80 feet down, where obviously it's beyond reach of any test pit excavation. So then you're looking at, other measures to try to find out what happened. So being up close to the surface makes it a lot easier to answer the question, what happened.
We'll probably get a question here. Do you know of this happening elsewhere? And personally, I don't know. I don't know, Tom, if you've heard anything like this. But about the time we say, no, this is really unusual, I'll get an email from someone somewhere in the globe that says, no, this happened in 1994 here. So we're continuing to do this research. But if you're going to ask that question, the answer, I don't know. Do you know? No.
Do you know if the redecking this past year played into account with the buckling?
We don't think it did, Tom?
No, I don't
No.
think it did either.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
When I heard about this, I thought of Minneapolis, what happened in 2007. Obviously, I know this sounds kind of like a weird question, but when this happened last week, and, the result, I know, was a different type of thing, but
Sure.
was there a huge sigh of relief, and did you feel a little bit, not guilt, but, that maybe happiness that it didn't happen to that extent, but mostly relief? That's my first question. And then, what is your faith in infrastructure? I mean, should we all be concerned? I mean, should we have faith in our bridges and our overpasses?
Well, first of all, yes, you should have faith in your bridges and your overpasses. When this happened, obviously, this was a major event for the department, and we ramped up very quickly. I think that was made very clear. I don't like comparing one event to another, but I want to echo something our director, Will Dorsey, said at the top of this conference. He said, no one has been killed, no one has been hurt so far. We're very grateful. That's a positive thing. And when we shut the bridge down, we were grateful about that. And then something Tom said, and I need to remind that, safety first. There's a reason why we haven't been able to get you out there until now. There's a reason why we have monitors on the bridge, even though we don't believe it's going to move or it's in danger of failing. Safety first, safety out there. Tom said they have a safety meeting every morning at 7 o'clock. So I think there's awareness. Anytime there's a bridge issue anywhere in the world, I'll get questions about it, and people will be concerned, and we'll take a look at it. But it's safety first. Yeah, are we happy no one has gotten hurt? You bet. Are we happy no one's gotten killed? You bet. Did I-35 come to mind? All those bridge issues, all those bridge situations come to mind.
You mentioned you're confident that federal funding will cover a lot of this when Governor Walker declared the disaster, but
I didn't say confident. I said that we've gone through, we've done what we've had to do with FHWA. They've encouraged us to make this inquiry, and now they're looking at it, and they'll let us know. I didn't say we're confident. What I did say, though, is we anticipate, we're hopeful.
you're hopeful. Are you making plans to figure out what to do in case the feds say, no, we're not going to, it doesn't qualify, or how that's going to get paid?
Governor Walker, I think, put it best the first morning of this event. He said, we're going to fix this bridge, we're going to do what it takes to fix it, and we're going to fix it as quickly as we can and as safely as we can. I'll take a couple more, and then we'll wrap it up. Any more questions?
What's the piling made of?
I'm sorry?
What's the piling made of?
Steel.
Steel? Okay.
Pilings are made of steel.